Hi, I am Martin Jurkovic, a 2024 ASEF Fellow from Slovenia, who will be hosting the Meet the Fellows vertical of the ASEF Podcast. The idea is to get to know the ASEF Fellowship through ASEF Fellows, the students who experienced it firsthand. We will be talking about the Visit to Slovenia, life in Slovenia, their work during the fellowship, and what ASEF meant for them. We'll also be talking about the application process and tips for future fellows. So if you're thinking about applying or have just been accepted, this episode is perfect for you. However, if you are not from the US and listening to the podcast, you will also be able to hear about the differences between working and living in Slovenia and Europe compared to the US. Now I will be introducing two guests for today's episode, which I have met through ASEF and I'm happy to call friends. Sophia Jarc and Maja Košir are both ASEF 2024 fellows from Cleveland, Ohio, who both have Slovenian heritage and came to Slovenia for a summer internship. After my ASEF visit from Slovenia to the US, Sophia's family was kind enough to invite me into their home for a few days, and we spent an amazing weekend with Sophia, Maja, who is here with us as well, and Megan. Megan is the missing piece to the best friend trio of Sophia, Maja, and her. Unfortunately, she couldn't join us today, but would still like to give her a warm shout out. So, Sophia and Maja, I'd like to invite you to introduce yourselves and tell us what you're studying and how you're spending your time when you're not studying.
Yeah, so I can go first. I go to the University of Dayton. I'm studying communication management and getting a minor in biology. So kind of a unique combination. I'm hopefully going into medical sales with that. I have one more semester here, so kind of a happy, sad moment in my life, I guess. And outside of studying, I train a 4-Paws dog, which is an organization here in Ohio that gives service dogs out to students to kind of socialize them, bring them to classes. And she's a lot of work. Her name's Nimble, but she honestly brings so much joy to my life and just gives me so much meaning. So yeah, it's all about me.
Okay, thanks, Maja. Yeah, I was actually able to meet Nimble, and it's she, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so nice. So yeah, what about you, Sophia?
Yeah, my name's Sophia. I'm a third-year student at Purdue University studying industrial engineering. Also, like Martin said, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and outside of school, I do a lot of recruitment for the College of Engineering for women engineers. So I work and host events that try to get young girls interested in studying engineering or any sort of STEM field.
Okay, that's so interesting. Yeah, I think that's where we can already see some kind of a difference. I think in the US, you all really do a lot of these extracurricular activities alongside studying, and I think that's a big part of the university life, I guess. I would also like to say hi to other foreign ASEF fellows. So they're from the US, Argentina, and United Kingdom. Alex, Bautista, Caroline, Grace, Yanko, Mariano, and Nadia. I know, did you meet all of them? I wasn't able to meet all of them.
I think we met almost everyone, pretty close to it.
Okay, and you stayed with most of them as well, right? While in Slovenia?
Yes, yeah, we were all in the flat, yeah.
Maya and most of them were in the flat. I was in another location closer to me.
Right. We'll talk about that. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you first, how did you even hear about ASEF in the first place? Oh, also, do you pronounce it ASEF or ASEF? Because I've been mixing it all up so far.
Yeah.
So, okay, I can go. Well, we started calling it ASEF, and then once we all heard you say it, then we changed to ASEF. So it's ASEF.
Okay.
Well, I learned about ASEF through my Slovenian school where I studied in Cleveland. A lot of the alumni took trips the years before me and did the ASEF Fellowship experience there, and I heard nothing but amazing things and see them post on social media and things like that. So I reached out to them and asked about their experience, and they said it was one of the best things I've ever done in my life and that I miss it all the time. So I was like, okay, I have to do this. And like you said, me, Megan, and Maja are kind of a trio. So I told them hey, I'm doing this. I would love to share this experience with you. but I'm going to do it no matter what. So, and I was really happy to have both of them join me, and lucky enough that all three of us were able to earn the fellowship. So.
Yeah, like Soph said, she was most definitely our main advocator and like kind of person who kept us through the application process. But I guess just from other people that we know in our Slovenian community at Cleveland, and just being able to, I don't know, have that experience with the three of them was really awesome.
Okay, that's so cool. Yeah, word of mouth
Yeah.
is working, I guess. Yeah, I remember you were telling me how nervous you guys were when you weren't sure if you all are going to get it. So yeah, I'm really happy you did. So what does ASEF offer for US students that are coming to Slovenia? How does the whole visit look like? What all is included?
Yeah. I guess when I first got there, you're kind of landing in a smaller airport, you're nervous, you're all of that kind of vibes of, anticipating this trip. And I hopped in like a shuttle to the flat. And all of a sudden, I'm meeting two of the other fellows. But overall, I guess, got a very warm welcome from everyone, including my family who was there. Like, I'm very fortunate that I had contact with them and was able to spend a week with them before starting to intern. But a lot of random events are planned through ASEF as well. Like, I remember we met Martin through the rock climbing event actually for the very first time. And I don't know, there was also a rafting trip and just a lot of fun activities outside of your internship. I really enjoyed my internship as well because I got to play some badminton with friends and coworkers there. So that was awesome as well.
As far as more of the logistical stuff, pretty much when you apply to ASEF, you write a paper kind of explaining like what your interests are, and they do the work to connect you with someone who, like with a company or with a mentor that can like help you learn more and dive more into those details of what your interests are. So I was lucky enough to be paired with an engineering company, and they kind of set up all accommodations that I needed. So the flight, my housing, food, which was very, very helpful, especially from someone who doesn't know the area or doesn't know what's really going on. I felt like very much I had a good foundation of how I'll live over there before I even came.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. So I'll call you Sophie maybe.
Yeah.
During the podcast, but as Sophie said, you were not in Ljubljana, right? You were separate from everybody else. Where were you staying exactly?
So I stayed in Trbovlje, where my company was out of. I'm not sure if you had another question about the companies, but I'll just kind of go into it. I worked at Daily Soft, and they had a guest house right on their campus that they let me stay in, which was super generous. So honestly, I walked 5 steps out the front door every day and was at the front door of my office. So I was able to stay there. I'll be honest, when I found out all the other fellows were living in Ljubljana together, at first I was a little bummed that I would be missing out on like bonding with them, but I was able to find time to do that on the weekends and travel to Ljubljana. But I honestly could not be more grateful that I kind of lived far away. Trbovlje is a really kind of like isolated town in the hills. And it kind of forced me to get out of my comfort zone and make friends within that community and really like dive into the true Slovenian culture. I know like in Ljubljana it can be a little touristy or like a mix of different cultures, but in Trbovlje it was pretty much all Slovenians. And it was really, really great to just kind of, find the local bites to eat, go out with my coworkers, go to the local pool, things like that, and just like really immerse myself in the culture in that kind of more small town vibe.
Yeah. I remember you were telling me about a story of how you took the bus to the train station. What was that?
Yeah, so it definitely was scary at first, especially me not knowing the language that well. I mean, I know the very, very basics of Slovenian, and I'd also never taken a train before. So I got to the train station, and since it's such a small town, all that they had to let you know a train was coming was a speaker in Slovenian that was just like, oh, the train's coming to this track right now, and it's going here, but in Slovenian, and I had no idea what was going on. and panic completely on set. And I was looking around the train station to find anyone that spoke English. Please help me. And there was this angel. She was a 4th grade English teacher sent
Oh
from
my
God
God. You were
to
so
help
lucky.
me. I was so lucky. And she stayed with me and helped me get onto the right train. And after doing it a couple times, I was able to get to Ljubljana, no problem, after a couple weekends of doing it over and over again. But thank God for that woman. So that's like kind of a little funny story. A bunch of little stories like that, kind of getting used to the life over there and not everybody being able to speak English, but it ended
Yeah.
up being not being a problem after a couple of weeks.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I'll butt in too. I just remember Soph on the train that day was texting Meg and I like pure panic, but like she was able to, obviously find out how to get to us. And I feel like that probably was like a moment of growth for her too, of just like trusting her guts and instincts and
Oh, for
going
sure.
up
Yeah.
to a stranger and like trying to like get help from them. So that's kind of a lot of experiences throughout the summer like that. But honestly, like looking back, it's things you can laugh at and just kind of enjoy later too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I love this story because even I'm anxious when I'm taking our trains because sometimes you have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to touch up on the applications. So what did you all have to do to apply? What's necessary? Do you guys
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I think there were roughly like 3 essays. One was like something about your research that you've done. Another was maybe about like why you wanted to join ASEF and kind of about your like Slovenian heritage and background.
Mhm.
I'm blanking on what the third one could have been possibly, but then I think there was also 2 rounds of interviewing. That was like for me really nerve-wracking because you don't really know how, I don't know, the interviews are going to go with people that like speak a different language than you, and like English isn't necessarily their first language. So it's really nice to know that people are willing to like adapt to your language and try and like speak to you via interview in your language. But yeah, Soph could probably give a little better interview or overview of it.
I know it was kind of a long time ago, so I'm trying to think back, but I do remember there being recommendation letters as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that was like a big process. I know like the principal of my Slovenian school wrote me a recommendation letter, and like my past employers had written me a recommendation letter. I'm not sure if we're supposed to give advice, but like I feel like one of the things that helped me stand out is just like how involved both me and Maja are in our Slovenian communities in Cleveland, or like why we want to like immerse ourselves in the culture and not just use it as an internship experience, but actually use it as like a whole life experience and really make the most of being in Slovenia for a summer.
Yeah, I would like to piggyback off that and just say, like, even if you're not super involved in like anything right now, that's okay. Like I talked about doing quiz like growing up, so like the Slovenian dancing, and that ended up being like a 15-minute part of the conversation of my interview. So like anything honestly that's related to like being Slovenian, they will be happy and excited to talk about for sure.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think that's why ASEF is cool because it's not just the internship, but it's also the whole trip to Slovenia. I know how it means so much to you guys. So yeah, I think that's great. So what kind of internships did you guys do with ASEF? You said, Sophie, that you were talking about them before coming here with someone and setting everything up. How were they catered to you? How did that go?
Yeah, so like I said, I worked for Devisoft and I was a project management intern, and I was able to manage an international project for them with like a bunch of their subsidiary locations. So not only was I exposed to the Slovenian culture, but also like I worked with people from all over Europe, and I have connections with them that I still try to have monthly Zoom calls with my coworkers and catch up, which is something that I really treasure, and I miss them so much. But as far as the accommodations, like I said, I had the house, and then they had food for me there, and my mentors were like really there for me, not only just in a like a work sense, but also in a like I'm here to help you through this whole transition process. I know one of my mentors planned like a day trip with our team to go on a hike just to kind of show me around her favorite part of Slovenia. My other mentor would kind of like take me on little miscellaneous errands we had to do for work, just like kind of fun things, take me out to lunch, things like that. So like they were more than just professional mentors, but also just like life mentors that even if I need advice on something not professional, I still will reach out to them. I'll just say like I learned a lot about like managing projects and how to like keep a timeline, things like that. But I think the thing I learned the most was just like life skills and learn and like working with international people and communicating clearly, especially when English isn't everyone's first language. So it was like really a once in a lifetime experience.
Well, would you mind just telling us what does ASEF do exactly?
Yeah, so they're a data acquisition and measurement company. So they make hardware and software that like you connect sensors to, and then they can test things. So like one of their biggest clients is NASA, and like they'll like plug in the sensors, and then they like you can measure different things, and they test it before the spaceships go to space, obviously. So they make the equipment to do that, and also the interface to kind of analyze the data as well. So they have some really high tech stuff going on over there. Really, really smart people that I learned a lot from. So it was like really, really cool experience. And also they do have multiple locations in the US, one of them being in Ohio. Their US headquarters is in Ohio, which is like also what a small world. And a great connection for me, like past graduation as well.
Okay, nice. Yeah, what about you, Maja?
Yeah, so I worked at a place called Better Meds. It's actually kind of near like the stadium where the basketball games and stuff are held at. And essentially what I was trying to do there was expand their digital medication management and prescription solution. It's a mouthful, but like over to the US. And their entire idea behind their product is trying to kind of make hospitals more efficient and the communication better between like nurses, doctors, and physicians when prescribing medicine, because it can get real messy real fast, especially when going from one location to another and just not having that like digital footprint. And they're trying to really move from like paper prescriptions to just all digital. So that's a huge thing there. And I mainly just did like a lot of research of U.S. hospitals as well as universities, because they also have programs in the U.K., which is their main customer, where they're teaching university students how to like use their solution so that when it's enrolled in hospitals, they can ready just smoothly go into that kind of transition. So yeah, that's a little bit about that, I guess. And this internship has like stood out to so many job applications so many times. It's the first thing I talk about in every single interview. Every single like question is basically built around this entire experience. And I was even able to use one of my mentors as like a rec for a job application too. So been able to like keep in touch with her that way as well. So it's really just been a very valuable experience, and just being able to grow in a different country too, and kind of really truly find my passion. Because honestly, prior to this trip, I wasn't really exactly sure what I wanted to do career-wise. And I feel like this really gave me like a sense of motivation and like purpose in a field that I really like. So yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing to hear, actually.
Yeah, no, it like truly not even saying that just to like be happy about ASEF or whatever, boast about them, but like I did not know I wanted to go into medical sales exactly. It was kind of just a maybe. And after being in that environment and learning a lot about combining my passions of my major and my minor, it just felt like a perfect fit from there.
Wow. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you can actually talk about the Slovenian internship in the States and that it's impressive for them as well. So, because I wanted to ask you whether has this internship in Slovenia, the ASEF Visit, actually helped you for your careers or not? So I guess for you, Maja, it has for sure.
Most definitely, yeah.
Well, can I add on? Because
yeah, please, yeah.
I'm not looking for a full-time job, but I am looking for an internship for this summer, and I that was the first thing I talked about in interviews, and I think that made me stand out as a candidate so much. I was able to get multiple internship offers within like the first month of school, just about people hearing about this experience. Like, you can't find that anywhere else, especially
it's very unique.
Yeah, the international perspective and talking about that, and it's so unique that there's really no other experience like it. So it really helped me stand out too. And I'm doing something very similar this summer with the internship that I ended up accepting in a project management role. So I also found that that's what I really like. So honestly, kind of like what Maja said, but it really, really has helped me stand out.
Wow, that's so great. Do you guys remember what kind of other internships did the other ASEF Fellows do?
Yeah, Yanko, I know, worked at a hospital for physical therapy because that's what he's interested in going into. So he shadowed, I don't remember how many different departments, but it's at least 4 or 5. Like every 2 weeks, he was in a different department in the hospitals, which was really cool to him. He said it kind of allowed him to see maybe specifically what kind of physical therapy he would like to go into. Do you remember anyone else's, Soph?
Well, we can talk about Megan's. Megan did a more research experience. She is hoping to get into medical school post-graduation, and so she worked in a research lab in genetics and was able to learn so much about that. I know in the beginning she was very overwhelmed with all the different things she had to learn, but by the end she was really confident, and it was a great experience and also a great thing for her to talk about during her medical school interviews.
Okay, that's so nice. Yeah. Did you find any language barrier during these internships, or how did you guys feel as a native English speaker here?
Yeah, I think something interesting for me was that my company did so much business with the UK, United Kingdom, and they used like their English versus like American English. I'm blanking on the terms right now, sorry. But that was just interesting because like sometimes when I had to write emails to their company, they wanted me to edit it in the sense that it was like in their spelling. So like a lot of S's and Z's had to be switched.
Right.
Kind of making sure my brain was able to switch between that. But I guess at my company overall, it was very diverse. Not everyone was from Slovenia. There was people from all over, truly. So I think English was ready, just kind of a given for me. And it was just everyone mostly spoke in English. Occasionally, like people would start speaking in Slovenian, but it never really bothered me. And honestly, I feel like it helped me learn a lot too of more newer Slovenian, since I only really know my grandparents' like generation of Slovenian. So
Yeah. So for me, I worked at an international company, so pretty much everyone, at least who interacted with the other subsidiaries, knew English very well. But the one thing that I really struggled with in the beginning was kind of showing my personality because, like in all the business meetings and the calls, they would speak English, but like during the coffee chats and during lunch, everyone would speak Slovenian. And, and I was in this city by myself and I wanted to make friends, or at least like show a little bit of my personality, because I also think once people get to know my personality, it also shows that my work is more credible and that they trust me with more things, because at the beginning I was very quiet because it's hard to interject in a conversation when you don't know what they're talking about. It's actually impossible.
Right.
It took me a while for people to actually learn a little bit of my personality, but then after a couple after lunches with people or some coffee chats with people in English, they were able to figure out that we could joke around together and like have more of a like fun atmosphere and like make the summer way more enjoyable. But that was definitely a challenge in the beginning.
Oh yeah, okay, makes sense. I just wanted to ask you the last thing about the internships is how would you compare them to the US internships that you've done before? Are there any notable differences or anything that stood out maybe?
I don't know. I feel like my company was most definitely more relaxed than previous experiences and more family oriented. I don't know if it's just because like it is a smaller company for right now. They are growing, but just in the sense of like anyone's birthday or like any holiday, I guess, was always like gathered in the kitchen for at least an hour. Like it was mandatory on everyone's calendar to go in there and just spend some time together and just kind of have some of your stress go away and be relaxed. That's all that's really coming to mind, I guess, right now.
No, I completely agree with you. I would say like, I don't want to say it was slower paced, but sometimes in the US, like people can be have one view and it's to work. But I feel like everyone's there also like enjoys to be there. But also that could just like be a testament to the company that I was at because there was a great work culture there. But I would say that it was just more relaxed and people were not just coworkers, but they were friends. Also, I would say, I mean, I didn't ever have an international experience, and just being able to work with, like when you're in the US, you don't really have a lot of experience with people who aren't in the US, who don't speak English, everyone's in the same time zone or like 1 hour off from you. So you don't really have a lot of experience with anyone else except someone similar to you. So it was really, really, really cool to see the different cultural differences, even just working with like people from Italy or people from France, even the way that they would word things or the way that they would present things or how they worked was so different. And that's something I really enjoyed. And like, I like to observe like the differences between all the European cultures.
Yeah. I think we're more liberal with taking vacation days as well.
Yes.
And stuff like that. Yeah. But from my experience, the culture in the companies, I think is very important to all of the Slovenian companies. So I'm very happy to hear that you had the same experience. So kind of similar, what were the biggest shocks about living in Slovenia or Europe in general, if there were any?
It's funny because I feel like I was asked that question so many times coming home, but I don't know. Sophie and I have been like so immersed in like our families and just other Slovenians that I think it's kind of hard to like separate the two from like Cleveland to Slovenia. But I guess maybe I personally haven't been to Slovenia since I was 12 years and I was 21 when I was there. So what is that, like 7-year gap between? And I just kind of forgot how diverse like Slovenia really is and like terms of going out and exploring it, and all of a sudden like you're at the seaside and 2 hours later you're at a mountain. I don't know. I just found that really interesting, and I'm kind of a nerd in the sense of like looking at landscaping and stuff. It's always been interesting to me. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly what Maja said. We have been immersed in this culture, the food, the music, literally everything you could think of since we've been born. So honestly, it feels really homey. Me and Maja traveled together on the way there. And, you know, traveling is so stressful and we had like 3 different layovers, whatever.
Yeah.
The second we landed in Slovenia, we were walking off the plane and me and her both just like had this huge sigh of relief. And I remember it was just like, we're home. Like it feels so homey in Slovenia, even though it's so far away. I never struggled with homesickness at all. And like, I just will never forget that one moment where me and her looked at each other and just all the weight came off her shoulders. So I would say there really isn't for us. We're kind of used to the culture. So I wouldn't say any of it was really a shock.
Yeah. I remember for me coming to the States, we talked about this, is how you all stop at all stop signs. And we mostly don't, I guess. I mean, for the record, I stop every time at every stop sign I encounter in Slovenia, but most people don't. But yeah, what I wanted to continue here is, so when I came to visit you, I was able to experience the whole Slovenian culture and the Slovenian community that you have there, which for me was such a crazy experience because I had no idea you guys were really basically, how would you say, indulged in the experience from like a really young age. You also took me to Slovenska Pristava, which I want you guys to talk about because that's such a unique thing, I think, and so Slovenian in like the heart of Ohio, which no one would expect it to be there. So
Yeah.
how does that all work?
Yeah,
so
I just want to say, I'm sorry. I feel like Slovenska Pristava could be like a whole podcast inside itself.
For sure.
But I don't know. Yeah, so you can go ahead and start with it.
Well, so me and Maja's grandparents, a lot of Slovenian grandparents, well, for our generation, moved over to Cleveland all at the same time. And they all kind of came together and found support in each other and their community. They didn't have a lot of money. They didn't speak any English. and they all worked for the same company and they all did this together, and kind of raised their kids in that same Slovenian culture. So it was a community to begin with. Both of our grandparents are some of the founders of Slovenska Prestava. So they kind of went to find some place in the middle of nowhere that kind of reminded them of their home in Slovenia, like the countryside. A lot of our grandparents grew up on the farms, like mine are from Dolenska, so like very farm culture. And they bought, like, 50 acres of land, which I don't know what
Yeah, I
that
have
is.
no
Mass
idea, but
number.
it's a lot. It's
A
a
lot of
lot
land.
for the non-US listeners. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yes. And they built kind of a mini Slovenia, like home away from home place where their goal was to kind of keep like a home for the Slovenian community that would outlive them. And I think that has totally worked. That's how me, Megan, and Maja met, was through Prestava. I mean, all of our grandparents, they had kids, which are our parents. They're all friends. And then they brought us to Prestava, and now we're all friends. And everyone in the Slovenska Prestava community just kind of seems like a family. And like my brothers and sisters, whoever I grew up with, because they kind of raise you in that culture. Maya, you could probably go into better detail, but that's kind of what Prestava means to me.
Yeah, so Prestava is like, just for the listeners to imagine better, it feels like a campground, but they're like through time you build different buildings there and like little cottages and whatnot, and then you also do camping each summer, right?
Yeah.
So how does that go?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess maybe just quickly to give a little like overview of what Prestava has. There's cabins there. There's a main hall, and then like a picnic area by the main hall, a big field to play like, I don't know, any sports in it. There's a little chapel there. And then probably what all the kids would say the best part is a swimming pool. It's way down at the bottom with two awesome huge slides that I don't even know if they're regulated or anything. But anyways, so yeah, every summer for 1 week, there is a camp. You can start when you're 8 years old, and then it goes until like 12 years old. You're a camper. Till 14 years old. And then you do something called Camp Core for 2 years, which is like kind of community service. So a lot of weeding around the area or mulching. And then after you do your 2 years of service, you can be a counselor for the campers. And essentially, we have events all throughout the week where we're competing. There's about 8 to 10 teams every summer, and we're just doing the most random things you can probably think of for campers to do. So it's a lot of fun. And by the end of the week, all the kids are just crying like they don't want to go home. They want to spend more time with their friends. So it really just shows the bonds you make there. And you probably wouldn't even have like met so many friends without this camp and just Prestava overall, because it really is a place for us to just go have fun and just enjoy our summers, or even winters. We'll go to the cabins. Martin was there this winter. So,
I was there, yeah.
Yeah.
We almost got stuck in the snow with our car.
Yeah, no plowing there. So, but yeah, it's just truly a second home to all of us and my friends, and just a special place in our hearts for sure.
And camp is only 1 week of the year. So that is kind of what builds the bonds. I know both of our parents went to Camp Prestava, and that's how they all became friends. It's kind of like the thing that makes everyone become friends, but Prestava is so much more than that. It's for all generations, like the kids younger, and also like my grandma still goes there. They have club meetings, picnics all the time. They hold mass over there. It's also just open, so you can go to the pool. It's more than just camp. But camp is kind of the thing, I think, that keeps it going through the generations.
Yeah.
But
people also get married there, right? You said.
Yeah. My cousin actually 2 summers ago, and it's like, I don't know, just so special to be able to have such a special event where so many of our grandparents have been able to like build it. It's, I don't know, just a great feeling for sure.
Yeah. What I wanted also to say is that you guys have Kozolec, which we climbed up on, which was just so wild for me to see Kozolec not in Slovenia or actually really far away in the United States. Yeah, I'm so happy you guys have this Pristava and that you guys actually took me there. I was talking about Pristava with my uncle who visited some of my extended family in the 80s, and he also went to Slovenska Pristava. He was there like 30 years ago or something. So crazy.
Yeah, it's a place that they're just so proud. Like everyone is to show it off, because how many places in the US are these large, I don't know, like Slovenian campgrounds really at? I feel like it's so unique. And yeah.
Kaya took us on a day trip. Kaya is one the people that works for ASEF. We went to Maribor and we met this guy who also had been to Pristava before.
Mm-hmm. And
randomly he said he had been to the United States and he went to Cleveland and that he had been to Pristava. And yeah, if you're Slovenian and come to the United States, it's a must see.
For sure. Okay, to finish it off, any tips you have left for future ASEF Fellows coming to Slovenia? Anything that comes to mind that you might not have said before?
Honestly, travel, like all throughout Slovenia and outside of the country. I feel like I didn't take advantage of that enough almost. And it truly is just such a beautiful country. My mom and brother came the last 2 weeks of my visit there, and we literally probably hit every corner of Slovenia. And it just every time was like, I'm so proud to be Slovenian and from this country, and just seeing it is just nothing else like you'll ever see, I feel like.
Something we haven't really touched on in this podcast is reconnecting with your family. I know that I have visited Slovenia 2 times before and seen my family, but it's always for 10 days, something quick. So, you're trying to see all the sites, quick dinners. But this 3 months gave me the chance to just hang out and really get to know them. No agenda, no nothing. We could sit around and play card games or do nothing and just chat. And that was honestly probably my favorite part of this whole trip, which is really, and they really feel like family. When you're visiting for 10 days, they're serving you and you feel like a guest, but I really felt like part of the family. I was helping making dinners, stuff like that when I was going to visit them, hopping on their family vacations, crashing them, but it was so much fun. And just being able to really build a bond with my family was something that I'll treasure forever. And just like I said, I keep up with my coworkers. I text my Slovenian family at least once a week, if not more. So that's something I'm really grateful for. Also, something that sticks out to me from my visit, something that I just will always remember, is we went on an outing with my company, and one of my coworkers looked at me and was like, "You are so lucky to experience this, because no one else in your shoes will ever experience this." He was like,
that
"You're
is
just
so
an
true.
American girl in Trbovlje sitting in this restaurant. You are probably the only person that will ever experience this in your shoes." And he's right. And when he said that to me, I was just made me even more grateful for ASEF and the experience that they gave me, because it truly is 1 in a million.
That's so lovely to hear, really. All right, so thanks so much for joining me, guys, for doing this with me. I hope we inspired somebody to apply to ASEF in the future. And I just want to finish it off with one thing, and that's OH.
I
Thanks, guys.
Yes. Oh, that's so epic.
Thank you for listening to the ASEF Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps others discover the show. For more content, follow ASEF on social media, and see you in the next episode.